The following thoughts on Happy Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you. Voted as best local podcast in Tampa Bay by the Creative Loafing. You're listening to Happy Hour.
Are you feeling classy today? Sit down, pour a glass of wine, and listen to Happy Hour.
You're tuned in to Happy Hour, an hour where Happy rants about something. Sit back and listen in. Happy Hour is on now. Happy Hour is on now.
What up? What is happening? This is Happy Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe. And on the phone line from 99.7 The Blitz in Columbus, Jeremy Loper from the Loper and Randy Show is on the line. What's up, bro?
Hey, man, just, getting a little Happy Hour over here.
Damn right, man. How pumped are you to be on the show, man? Because I didn't expect you to get back to me, so I'm pretty pumped to get this going.
Oh, well, hey, man, I'm super pumped, dude. I mean, this is like the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. I mean, the tension is so intense tonight, you can cut it with a knife. People know that are listening right now. There's a lot of people in the business, other rock guys that I respect, in this business, it's weird. You can't just go around respecting everyone. They got to earn it. Generally the rock guys are the truth. There's a lot of guys that say nice things about you. So I know you're real hungry. So it's a pleasure to be on the show.
Yeah, man. So how has everything been with the show? Because I haven't been able to listen as much since I work a night schedule. So how has everything been at the Blitz?
Man, we're awesome. I mean, I feel great about Columbus, and the Blitz is a super heritage station here in the market, very well known. So when we came in, we had an awesome audience to serve, but we've gathered quite a larger audience since we've been here. And yeah, I mean, it's great, man. It's the most successful morning show they've had since Stern. What else can you ask for, right?
What were some of the things you knew going in? Like, how prepared were you? Because it's very hard to replace Howard. So what were the things you had prepared to be the most successful show?
Well, see, our situation's a little bit different. We came in from West Palm Beach, Florida back in 2012. We were hired in April. We went on the air, and we had replaced a local morning show that had been there. That there was a couple morning shows in between us and Howard that just, for whatever reason or the other, just didn't seem to really catch on in the market. So they bounced around from different talent, and eventually, 2012, our deal was up with CBS Radio, and right place, right time. In fact, the morning show immediately following Stern, Randy, my partner, who also is my wife, she worked here in Columbus at the Blitz with the first morning show post Stern. So she would actually be able to answer that question better than me. But we settled in very nicely. I mean, we're unfortunately in radio, you get used to moving around and that whole initial setup, guerrilla marketing, get your name out there. Because, in most cases, you don't have a lot of marketing for the radio station, or, generally a station's not bringing in a morning show because they're on top of the world financially, let's just say, So, they're not spending a ton of money marketing, so you better be able to market your own show. And most guys like myself, are able to go into markets, and that's what we've become sort of professionals at is, hey, we're the new stuff that's going on. Check us out over here. And in the process of that, it's just a cool hang, the show, man. It's just very conversational. We do things in our real life. We talk about our life, and that's, I believe, what cuts through and translates well.
What's it like doing a radio show with your wife? Because there's a lot of shows that do that, but I would say you guys are one of the edgier and more real shows. Because a lot of times when there's a married couple show, it's on like a hot AC channel. So you guys have the most real show when it comes to being a married couple. So what's it like?
I appreciate you saying that. It's very nice. Well, here's the deal. That's how we met. So, if it was any other way, I understand where everybody's coming from. That would be a really weird situation, to say, hey, honey, stop all this staying home with the kids and come join me on the radio. So, I mean, we were paired together by the people that scouted talent for CBS Radio. So we were friends first, obviously, and then, romance bloomed.
What was it about Randy that intrigued you when you first met her?
Have you ever seen a picture of her? No, that's good. No, she is one of the most soulful people I've ever met in my life. Just, she can get your story where you are, who you are, where you've been, what's your mission in life, what's your moral ground in the first 5 minutes of a conversation with, mostly anybody. And she's just like magnet type personality, which is A plus, exactly what you want from a female talent on the radio, really from any talent on the radio. You want somebody to want to be around you, but just little things that, are off the air. We obviously have like similar personalities. Doing this job is crazy for an elongated amount of time. I mean, you see dudes that do this for, a little while. It's cool. Like, there's podcasters out there that do shows that are similar to morning shows, I guess you could say. They're like, I don't know how that can get old every day, but it's the grind, waking up and, just put your boots on the ground, and just every single day is a new day. You can never really rest on yesterday's accomplishments. So having somebody that understands that is clutch. And if you would have told me 15 years ago that this was going to be my life and this is how it was going to work out, and I was going to be on a super crazy active rock / metal station doing a morning show with my wife, I would have probably told you were crazy. But I mean, I believe in this life, whatever you put in, you get out. And, it's all about being positive. It's about keeping a really strong mental outlook. I think people really overlook that in this business. You have to be sharp and strong mentally, because there's a lot of people, not only other talent, but, people in the business. You've got to be prepared for harsh criticism and to make it through the quote unquote, the rough times, but I believe, the journey's the fun part of the ride for sure.
Now, I'm 22 years old, and that comes with getting your balls being bust every once in a while by like Calta and guys at the bone. And it never really gets to me, but I do get criticized on air. So for you in your radio career, what were some things that you had to fight through when it came to adversity?
Well, see, I was always the young guy, man. I got into this. It was really a really chance way that I fell upon radio. Save you the forever story. I started when I was 13, man. And my mom, she didn't pick me up from school one day and sent her friend because she had a meeting. And her friend was listening to Rush Limbaugh. And I had never listened to AM radio in my life. And I was like, what is going on over here? Rush was just rooting this guy out, just giving him the business. So I was like, whoa. I went inside and turned it on. And after Rush was this local guy who was super Republican and all this stuff. And, I'm not that's not my political views necessarily, so it wasn't the politics that attracted me. It was this really brash personality, the interaction, the exchange of the caller and the host, and just this, it was almost like a musician when you hear really amazing music, you could see their face sort of light up. I feel like that's what was happening. Cause I mean, man, when I'm listening to really great entertainment based radio or podcast, I think it's, in my mind, it's like art. You know what I'm saying? You get into this flow mode, and you just are creating and just doing, and and that's kind of what I saw in it. And fast forward down the road, man, it was a few of the harsh years, but I think I was lucky because I was so young. You know what I mean? My first full time job, I was 17. I spent 8.5 years of my career at first in West Palm Beach before moving around the country. And, that was strong to really learn. I worked my way up from a weekend guy to the afternoon APD and music director for the Buzz in West Palm. And, that was the place that really, I learned how to be and who I was, in this business.
How hard is it when you have to move around? Was there one job that you were so happy and so content at, and then you end up getting fired or laid off?
Usually when you get fired, you usually kind of feel it coming, which hasn't happened to me very often. I think it's tough. When we left Florida, I knew that was coming for 6 months leading up to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and that's where I grew up. That's where I'm from. You know what I mean? And to grow up somewhere and listen to a radio station and then become the morning show host, that's obviously the dream, right? If you love to do this. And, so when they were going to turn it off, that was whoa, this really sucks. No matter where I move, it's not going to be, unless it's San Diego or LA, it's not going to be as rad as South Florida. But that's okay. Like that was my mindset then. And then I get this job in Columbus, which I always knew the Blitz. See, the Blitz is like super heritage active rock. People know the station very well. And when I came here, it was no disappointment. It was every bit of that legendary status in the market. The best thing was the people were here just waiting for a show that they could interact with. And they just wanted that, that exchange of, just realness on the air, hey, this is my life, man, however awesome or just absolutely, a mess. This is my life. And here it is. This is what we're doing. I mean, I think the people that fall into talking about like Hollywood and stuff that really doesn't matter all the time, it's just, I mean, you could exchange that person for anyone,
Yeah.
But once you get people hooked on you, that's how you keep your job, because you're the product,
Why do you think radio shows are so cliche all the time, where you have the entertainment news and you have the prank calls, or you have the like shock jocks who aren't the same guys off air, but they hide behind a mic and just spew garbage? Like, why don't you think more shows try to take the route like yours or Mike Kelta's, where it's just a bunch of people talking? What do you think that is?
I don't know all the time that it's, and I'm not, don't really have anybody in mind, I don't want to sling mud at anybody or anything, but like, I mean, understand what you mean. I don't think it's any secret. I think what that is too is like, it's a problem with programming. You know what I mean? You have to be you have to work for someone who is willing to put you over. It's kind of like, when I'll use the analogy of pro wrestling. A lot of people love pro wrestling, right? I'm sure a lot of young guys are listening right now. So in the WWE, no one is going to get the strap and have a title run unless Vince puts them over, right? They have to get out there on the big stage and have some wins. So unless you have a program director that's willing to put you out there and let you just go for it, then that's going to be a really tough thing to do. Otherwise, you fall into this rut, a lot of guys they're scared because they're going to lose their job, so they just do, this is what, Mikey, Magic Mikey, this is what he does. This is what I'll, and I think that is slowly changing too. Okay. That's changing. That sort of radio is definitely getting phased out. And I think that a large in part is that the podcast world, the radio world, it's marrying again, because I think one of the worst things to do is listen to like morning zoo type shows. And then if you say you want to be on the radio, you know what I mean? Like, because those shows are definitely under a lot of restriction that might not be apparent, from the surface.
Do you think people will end up doing new content, or is it just going to be the same thing for the next 10 years with War of the Roses, Second Chance Date? Or do you think there's a chance? I think
that's changing, man. If you look at guys like Mojo in Detroit, I'll give you that. Frankly, Mojo in Detroit is one of the greatest jocks on radio today, period. One of the greatest human beings alive. And that fucking guy could do any format. Can I say that on this show?
Yeah, who gives a fuck? I never swear, but it's uncensored.
All right, good. Sorry, kids. Loper's in the house. It's guys like him that that I believe saved that whole world. It's male-oriented radio that you and I like. Not everybody likes that, okay? So there's got to be something else. But there are great examples of CHR, AC shows that are doing that around the country, and they're doing it well. And those are the people that really get it, It's that experience of if you have only a certain amount of time to stop down, you've got to get into that flow mode as soon as possible. That's what I'm talking about, the mental game. I do a lot of meditation. I'm a martial artist, so I'm really like a martial artist who just happens to do radio, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? That's how I view myself. And, I try to keep that outlook. The martial arts plays a huge role in my life since I was a small child. So, if I had a religion, that's what I feel like it is, so you got to stay really strong and, know who you are. And when you have just a short amount of time, if you're like a top 40 show and you got to play like 9 songs an hour, I mean, you got to really pick and choose what you're going to say. And you got to get into that zone and just flow as quickly as possible. And that's way easier said than done.
Now, dude, I'm so into radio and into Adult Swim that I'm trying to find things to broaden my horizon. Like, I love to work out.
Into radio and Adult Swim, I love it.
Yeah, dude, it's the most random mix of things. Adult Swim, radio, The Wire, Boardwalk Empire. Like, I'm kind of geeky. So what do you do in your free time when it comes to, like, MMA and meditating? Because I try to meditate, but I have a hard time finding clips on YouTube, and then I get bored with my ADHD where I can't focus. So what do you do in your free time to, like, relax the nerves and just have fun?
Oh, well, see, I got 4 kids, man. Randy and I have 4 kids. Yeah. And so, like, you know, it's always a party at our house. You know, like right now I'm in the parking lot of my kids' jiu-jitsu class. And, hey, that's what you should be doing, man. You should go. There's some of the greatest guys on the planet are in Tampa doing jiu-jitsu. That's what you should do. You should go take a jiu-jitsu class, get your mind off radio and Adult Swim for a hot second, and go roll or something. But, you know, meditation is really easy. People make it tougher than it needs to be, you know. Like, you just need yourself, a quiet space. You know, some people like to put on music or, like, those singing bowls that you hear, you know, ding kind of thing. And you can get all that, like, on, you know, Pandora, where if you have something like that available to you. And, you know, you just close your eyes, man. Breathe in. I usually, you know, tell people in the beginning to breathe in for 5 or 6, exhale for about 8, and then just repeat. Feel your chest fall and rise. And every time you lose your place, man, you just got to go right back to it. See, that's the thing, is when you lose your place, it's not over. It's just like when you go surfing. You know, eventually you're going to fall off the wave, right?
Yeah.
So you got to get back on, paddle back out, stand up again, fall off, get back on. Same thing as meditation.
Now, what is it like having to get up at 3 a.m. every morning with your wife while having 4 kids, dude? Doesn't that just get absolutely crazy, or do you love the madness?
Wait, who's getting up at 3 a.m.? I'm getting up at 3 a.m.,
What time do you get up?
I get up about 4. Like, I'm such a rebel. I'm like, I get up around 4. Yeah, I do most of my work always the day before. So I'm, like, scouting all day long. iPhone is the greatest thing ever because you can do, like, hey, take a note and write down all your ideas. And then you have them. And it's super clutch to go over those ideas, review those ideas, and really, really experience that bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you can rehearse it to a certain extent, but, you know, it may seem like it's silly, but, like, I do it all the time, man, you know, because you can find choice words in your descriptions, because really what we are is we're not in radio, we're storytellers. You know, the best amongst us are the greatest storytellers on earth. And so to be a really clutch storyteller, you have to have detail. And to have detail, you have to have better words. So the more you go over the bit and understand what you're going to talk about and have a deeper understanding of that, the better you're going to be every time. So, I mean, when I was younger, I would try to take in all this information, you know, like all that nonsense that they send, you know, with the prep and all that stuff. And, you know, if you don't know it an hour before your show, if you don't know what you're going to do by heart, it's really tough to, you know, be in the moment and really have a chance to cut through. You know what I mean? You can do stuff and just riff and whatever. But, you know, if you really want to know, in my opinion, you have to be with that material. Yeah,
man. So, like, what is the key to being in the zone? Just because what if there is a day where there isn't that much to talk about? How do you find prep for a 4-hour show?
Well, like I said, you know, I just I kind of take the stuff in our everyday life. You know, it's like an ongoing saga. You know, it's like a TV show from episode to episode. So I try not to expend everything at one time. You know, some things are important to the story and the way that, you know, we tell our lives. People know if we're bullshitting or not, you know, and obviously certain things you can, you know, expand upon and, you know, it can deflate some things. But I always keep like a good amount of things that we can go to. And, yeah, it's just all about being prepared, you know, like you can always use, you know, like whatever prep you might have, but my opinion is like, I want something totally different than the other people are having, you know, and generally what I find is like, if you are going to talk about something that is like pop culture, let's say, you know, just have your own spin on it, you know? If you're going to read a list of like the 40 wealthiest people that are rappers, all right, the 40 wealthiest rappers of all time, whatever, you know, make it a game, like amongst the people that you're talking to, like in the studio, Hey, who do you think? MC Hammer or Puff Daddy? You know what I'm saying? Like it just makes it, because people naturally just want to guess, because everybody's competitive. It's just, we do this thing, treadmill trivia, which is not necessarily a new idea, right? But we do it with songs. So people love to guess like karaoke type songs. You know what I mean? Like that's like, it's the basis of like MTV, any MTV game they ever had, and so when people are driving, it's way easy too, and it's less mundane than listening to questions. So like, we do it with music, and people seem to really like that. And, that's the kind of stuff I think, when you're not talking deeply about your life or something like that, when you're doing games, I think they should be completely like unique, that they're only going to be found on your show. Because like you said before, there's too much of this. Everybody's the same business. And I think that's what happened for a while in radio. But, hey, radio is alive and well, and there's a lot of great people out there.
Now, has there ever been a bit, dude, that you were so proud of going in and it just bombed? Has it ever happened to you?
Yeah, all the time, man. Like all the time. You just got to pick up the pieces and keep going. Going back to the surfing analogy, that's, every great comedian that's on the road today bombs all the time. There's you're going to have that off night. I just think the way that you deal with that is how you come through, who you are in your worst moment. So being able to handle that each time, and, even for me, like I used to get like really upset at I'd be like the worst to be around after the show, it would really dictate my life. And certain things, this still upsets me today, but, it's getting through those moments. And, and when you do get through that, that's how you learn, man. That's the unfortunate thing for younger guys is there's not a lot of places where you can go and be on in the middle of the night and like completely blow it.
Yeah.
And then have that feeling of turning that around and getting out of the break and went, whoa, I was on my back and I was able to stand up and get out of here. That really just happened. That's awesome. And so, you got to celebrate those small victories, and eventually what you're trying to work towards happens. It happens because of the hard work. It's not by accident.
Now, was there ever a time when you got to do like overnight shows when you were young in radio? Is there ever a time where you completely messed up on air?
Yeah, dude, I fell asleep on the radio one time. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, serious?
I was up all night. I was up all night partying, and so embarrassing. And yeah, and then I even tried to call in sick. Ask John O'Connell, my program director, and he was like on some weird cruise boat or something, if I remember right. And I was like, yeah, I probably should be. He's like, you better get in there. I know you've been up. You better get in there. And I was like, all right, man. And goddamn, Alice in Chains Rooster had to be 6.5 minutes. Song, and I fell asleep, man. It happens, but it even happened. It's a long time ago. Personal stuff, Ryan, man, come on.
Yeah, dude, isn't it weird when you do a show and you're just so tired, but once that mic turns on and you have coffee, you're in the zone, and you say to yourself, I don't sound good. Man, this sounds weird. But once you listen after, you're like, that was one of my best shows of all time. Isn't it weird how some of our best shows come from when we aren't in the best mood or we're a bit tired?
Well, I think some of the best fighters are the ones that everyone counts out, or the ones that come from behind, the guys that take a bunch of damage and then they're able to turn it around. And I think that, we are who we are during the toughest times. Our greater self shows through. And I think that's what you're experiencing. I mean, I definitely remember like back in the day all the time, I'm like, oh God, that was just really fucking awful. And then you go back and you listen to it and you're like, oh, okay, all right. I'm still not happy because I wasn't, what that, in my opinion, is a sign of is just, you're not prepared, you're not comfortable in the moment, which only comes with time. That's not anything that you can beat yourself up over. And that's something that I think everybody does because you're like, Dad, I just want to be good,
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, walking in and going, hey, I just want to be a black belt, and yeah, okay, cool, get in line, pay your dues, get beat up a little bit. We'll see what you learn. And that's exactly what radio is, man. And, the guys that make it to a high level and have experiences and have great people guiding their careers. The thing that I have is, in my opinion, the best agent in the business. And when I hooked up with him, my whole life changed. And not only is he my agent, but he's like a mentor. You know, he was the president of ABC Radio before he retired to open up his own agency, and he represents only a few shows around the country. Mojo's one of them. Johnny Dare in Kansas City. You know, some big names in Atlanta, and he has really shaped me as I would say, like as a prepared talent in today's radio market. And I'm very excited about the future, man. I think, you know, the future's it's just going to be awesome.
What do you think the future of radio is? Because I think we're about to see within the next 10 years, everyone sort of overlooks my generation. They sort of think we're on our smartphones and there's not much to us. But, dude, some of the best podcasts are the ones of kids my age. So I think we're sort of the future of radio, where when we integrate with people your age, it's just going to make for some badass radio. Wouldn't you agree?
The new people have to come from somewhere. I mean, There's not a lot of opportunity, like I was speaking about earlier, about, you know, going around and working your way up. And even the night positions, the 7 to midnight, you know, my God. I remember when it was 6 to 10, they would throw an extra little 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. shift in there, and then overnights was really 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And then they would start again with the morning show. So, I mean, as all of those positions are eliminated, you eliminate your minor league. So, yeah, and here's the thing that I would really encourage a lot of people to think about. Radio and podcasts, the good ones, it's not that different. It's just, you know, most podcasts that are successful, like Joe Rogan, okay? Most people know Joe. Joe started out just doing that with this dude who's from here in Columbus, Brian Redband, who's also a comic. He's a regular out there at the Comedy Store in L.A. And he just started doing it, man. I mean, no one even knew what a podcast was. And really grew that to this huge, expansive entertainment mecca. I mean, you know, he's helped his buddies, like a great friend of mine, Joey Diaz. Bert Kreischer has a podcast now. I mean, you know, there's Brian Callen and Brendan Schaub, the fighter and the kid. You know, there's so many great podcasts. You know, Matt Brown, myself, we do a podcast, The Great MMA Debate, with this dude Damon from Fox Sports. And, you know, so there's a lot of stuff out there. And I think, you know, as people are consuming this sort of media, what I would consider them or encourage them to consider is, when you're checking out radio, you know, it's not the same. You know, it's the commercials and all that, but most of the good podcasts now have commercials too. It's just a different kind of commercial. You know, they're in the business, we call them live reads, you know?
Yeah, man. What is the key to getting your podcast out there? I mean, I've won Best Local Podcast down here because of the exposure that Mike Kelta and Drew Garabo have gave me. So I feel very honored.
Drew's at that station, right?
Yeah, dude. Drew's a badass, man. I love his show.
Something about Drew Garabo, okay? That guy's the truth, man. When he was on Real Radio, WTKS in Orlando, and he did his night show.
Yeah.
I would drive to work every day. Drive home from work every day when I did afternoons, because they syndicated into the West Palm market. I was so happy when they put him on, because he was such a great talent. Drew was doing like podcast type radio before anyone else was doing that. And, you know, and you could tell him I said that, and that's 100% true. Ask anybody who is in the know, Russ Rollins, all those dudes over there. Drew Garabo's, that guy, you know, I got a lot of respect for him, man. He's a really good guy.
What I love about Drew and 102.5 The Bone is they speak their mind and they're not afraid to hold back. Because, dude, we have this whole new thing where everybody gets outraged over words and they want people to say they're sorry even though they're not. So what I love about Drew is Drew's just like, screw you, I'm going to speak my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you know, and see, that's the Drew I know. I mean, like, you know, he's kind of always been that way. Yeah, I think he's spot on with that, man. I think, you know, you should apologize when you're really sorry.
How bad are things getting, dude? Because if you ask me, that cult classic from 10 years ago, made by the great Mike Judge, known as Idiocracy, I think it's coming alive, man. I mean, things are getting bad. The fact that the Kardashians are the most famous celebrities, and now we are outraged every day, and that Trump is even in the running for president, man. That movie's coming true, dude. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I mean, I think what you're experiencing is capitalism. I mean, that's what it's all about, man. The almighty dollar. You know, the almighty dollar wins. You know, I was talking about marketing earlier. all the Kardashians are is just a marketing machine. And,
with fat asses.
As they, yeah, I mean, and I love a big ass, man, but I don't know what to think of them. I think everyone consumes that sort of thing, and that's on the culture. I think that, the groundwork for that was laid by MTV, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you might look at it. I don't really hate on them as much as everybody else.
Oh, I despise them.
I'm not crazy about the content, okay? But the way that they've broken through in show business is absolutely incredible. And that's due to a radio guy. Who's that guy? Ryan Seacrest, I mean, so in my opinion, it all comes full circle, man. Some of the best people, one of the people that run MTV and VH1, Tom Calderon, okay? He used to be my consultant at The Buzz in West Palm when he worked for Jacobs Media. That guy is a genius. That guy's such a genius that he hired one of the greatest programmers ever, Amy Doyle. And she also, there with Tom, run both those networks. If you watch the VMAs, you'll see both of their names at the end. Mention those names to any of the bands. They have the utmost respect for those people. There are people that really get it,
Yeah, man, what is some of the best advice that you got from him over the years while he was at Jacobs Media?
Well, I think just, Jacobs Media in general is they do a great job. And they've had so many people over the years, Dave Beasing, that have come through there. Just so many great names that I've worked with personally. Lori Lewis is another name who was there in Tampa, as a matter of fact, for a long time. She was a great rock personality. Randy, my wife, and my co-host, and Lori Lewis, people like that on radio, girls, I'm not trying to say anything negative about women in radio, but what I'm saying is it's very tough for a woman in rock radio not to come off as just the bimbo in the room. And it's girls like Randy and Lori Lewis and Marcy Weiser, and girls like that really cut through, that are truly talented. And that's what the rock format, I believe, there's different sorts of personalities. And those personalities, to me, Kimba in Miami, were always so intriguing. And that's where the opportunity is. People say, oh, hey, how do you get to the big market? You got to be one of those personalities. It's like you got to find your niche and your place in life, that highway, and just go for it.
What do you think young people in radio should do, like me, since there aren't as many options when it comes to overnights and midday slots where you can screw up and learn? What should we do if we want to make it in this tough business where you have to grind?
Yeah, I just do that, man. Embrace the grind. It sucks. I mean, you gotta work every holiday, take everything. Be that guy who just wants to do everything. Oh yeah, you want me to do the air shift and do that remote tonight? Oh, but I'm doing the setup. That's fine. I'll do that. Cool.
Yeah,
I'll drive the van. Great. And just be that yes guy right now. Later on, you can start to drag your heels in the sand. But I always encourage people, man. For the most part, I think if you're doing things the right way, you're going to get along with the people you work with. And that's really important. Radio is one of those industries where it's one of the last of the Mohicans where you go, and in most places it still holds up, where most of the people at the station, especially the guys on the air, are friends for the most part. And, and it's always those special moments when the jocks hang out and you can kind of exchange, ideas or information or just have conversation with the other people, and I think that that's important. But, to get through the hard times, man, is just to buckle down. And it's like anything else, man. To get good at something, you got to get your ass kicked, and you got to go in there knowing that, and just know that you're mentally strong. You're going to make it. And every day you got to look yourself in the face and just, you got to visualize it too. I do a lot of visualization, and those techniques have absolutely changed things for me.
Now, man, where do you want to see your show?
I almost hit a mailbox. That's why I stuttered.
Are you serious?
I'm driving up the street right now. Sorry, dude.
Nah, man, dude, be safe. I don't want your last moment in life to be you talking to Ryan Hoppe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, your biggest podcast ever, kid. No, I was kidding. What was your question?
Where do you want to see your show in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think successful, man. Success is key. I don't know that market size is key. You can make money in a lot of markets.
Yeah.
You have to have the right people getting the money for you, but there's a lot of money, okay? They'll act like everybody's going to cry broke, but, if you're good enough and you have the track record, it can be done. So I see myself successful happy, content, doing the same show.
Damn right, man. Where can people find that show online and on the radio before I let you go?
Yeah, so like we do this thing so people can follow our lives off the air. That really is a companion to our on-air product. So we do vlogs. You know, you've heard of guys doing vlogs on YouTube. Like Roman Atwood is a guy who does a bunch of pranks on YouTube. He lives here in Columbus.
Yeah.
And we hooked up with him, and he got us into doing vlogs. So we do them like, you know, at least once a week, like when we go on vacation in the studio. So people get this behind-the-scenes look. So I encourage everybody to go and check that out at Loper and Randy, LoperAndRandi TV.com, LoperandRandyTV.com, or for everything the radio show, just LoperandRandy.com. Hey, Ryan, listen, kid, stay focused, do your thing, man. You're doing great over here. This is fun, man. Thanks a lot for having me on.
Thank you, bro. Keep up the good work. I listen to a lot of radio, and I love what you and Randy do because it's edgy, but it's not forced shock jock from the 90s. You guys are just real, and you can tell that you have a fun time. So thank you for coming on Happy Hour. This was a lot of fun, bro.
It was great to be here, man. Seriously, and good luck with everything.
All right, thanks, bro. All right, peace.
Hey, dude, thanks a lot, man.
Happy Hour. Happy Hour.
This is an official broadcast of Hoppe Radio. For more info, check out hopperadio.com and hoppesworld.com.